Rachel and I met in college, young and ambitious, dreaming of a future filled with success and happiness. We were inseparable, pushing each other to excel, supporting one another through challenges. 9 years together, 6 of them as husband and wife, had built a life we were proud of in Austin, Texas, a city that pulsed with energy, offering everything from incredible food and live music to top-tier gyms on every corner. Our careers were demanding, but we thrived on the challenge, constantly striving for more. Yet, as the early months of marriage passed, something began to shift. Rachel started gaining weight, not all at once, but gradually, a few pounds here, a few there. At first, it seemed like a natural adjustment to married life. More dinners out, indulgent late-night snacks, less focus on fitness. But the weight kept coming, and it changed more than just her appearance. She had confided in me before about her past struggles with weight, how she had been overweight before college and how hard she had worked to leave that part of herself behind. Yet here we were, 3 years into our marriage, and she had gained nearly 80 pounds. It wasn't just about looks. Her confidence faded, she withdrew from friends, started dressing in loose, shapeless clothing, and avoided social events. Our intimacy suffered, an unspoken distance settling between us. I had kept up my fitness routine, hitting the gym 4 to 5 times a week, maintaining the discipline I had always relied on. I encouraged Rachel to join me, hoping we could work out together, but she refused. "I don't like your gym, Ethan," she admitted one evening. "It's too intense. Everyone's grunting and throwing around weights. I feel out of place." That was fair. I suggested we find a gym that suited her better, a space where she felt comfortable, but she never took the initiative. I let it go, hoping she would find her way back to herself in her own time. Then one evening, everything changed. I found Rachel sitting on the couch, flipping through old college photos, staring at the screen in silence. "I don't even recognize myself," she murmured, her voice hollow. The next morning, she signed up for a gym membership, but not at my gym. She chose a different place, a popular chain that catered more to women, with fewer free weights and a focus on cardio, complete with early morning aerobic classes. And just like that, she became obsessed. She woke up at 5 a.m. every morning, attending spin classes and treadmill sessions before work. She started tracking every calorie, cutting sugar, and meal prepping with the kind of dedication I had never seen in her before. And it worked. Over the next year, Rachel transformed. She didn't just lose the weight, she sculpted her body into something even more stunning than before. Her confidence returned in full force, her energy was electric, and our relationship reignited in ways I hadn't expected. But 6 months later, something shifted again. Rachel wasn't just fit, she was glowing. Her long hair cascaded down in soft waves, her skin bronzed from spray tans, her wardrobe evolving into stylish, form-fitting outfits. Makeup became a daily ritual, enhancing her already striking features. She turned heads everywhere we went, and I found myself more attracted to her than ever before. But as her beauty flourished, her affection toward me waned. At first, I brushed it off as exhaustion from her intense workout schedule. But then she started avoiding intimacy altogether. "I'm just so tired, Ethan," she sighed one night, pushing my hand away. "You don't understand how draining it is." I wanted to believe it was just a phase, that stress and fatigue were temporary obstacles. But the small things began to add up. She spent longer hours at the gym, leaving before sunrise and returning home too exhausted to talk. Her phone became a constant presence, yet she guarded it closely, setting a new passcode and keeping the screen face down. Messages would light up, but she'd quickly lock the screen whenever I walked by. Then, one morning, I woke up earlier than usual and noticed something strange. Rachel had showered before leaving for the gym. Why shower before working out? A feeling of unease settled in my gut, one I couldn't ignore. I wasn't the type to sit back and hope for the best. I needed answers. That night, while Rachel slept, I activated location tracking on her phone. The next morning, I placed a small voice-activated recorder inside the lining of her gym bag. Then, I waited. A few days later, I had my answer. Rachel wasn't just going to the gym. She was meeting someone. Every Tuesday and Friday morning, her location showed her at a different place entirely. And when I listened to the recordings, My stomach twisted into knots. A man's voice. His name was Jason. I dug deeper. Jason wasn't just some random guy, he was one of the trainers at her gym. A personal trainer in his mid-30s, sculpted like a Greek statue, the kind of guy who lived and breathed fitness. His Instagram was a shrine to his own body, shirtless selfies, competition photos, motivational quotes about discipline and sacrifice. And Rachel had become a part of his world. Tracking her movements, I learned the truth. She wasn't just training with him. She was going to his apartment. But I needed proof. Cold, undeniable proof. I went further. While Rachel was at work, I visited a hardware store and bought a tiny security camera disguised as a light bulb. I installed it outside Jason's apartment, facing his front door. Then, I waited. What I discovered made my blood boil. Rachel wasn't the only woman. Jason had a system, a rotation. Every Tuesday and Friday morning, my wife and at least 3 other married women walked through that door. They never even bothered taking off their wedding rings. I wasn't done. I needed more. I installed motion-activated cameras inside Jason's apartment while he was away. Small, hidden USB chargers that streamed everything straight to my computer. And that's when I uncovered the final, devastating truth. Jason wasn't just in it for the thrill. He was running a business. They were paying him. The 2 most attractive ones handed him thousands of dollars per visit. The slightly overweight woman paid $200. But Rachel wasn't paying him at all. Instead, she was giving him something else. That was when I saw the bottles hidden inside his bathroom cabinet, labeled with pharmacy stickers. Performance-enhancing drugs. Jason was using human growth hormones and testosterone to maintain his sculpted, godlike physique. And Rachel, she was supplying them. I needed a plan. People always say, take the high road. Don't let revenge consume you. Move on with your life. No. I was going to burn it all down. Their entire relationship was built on fitness, on strength, power, and perfection. So that was exactly what I was going to take away from them. I took a business trip to Tijuana, Mexico. Down there, you can find almost anything if you know where to look. I did. I found a pharmacist who had exactly what I needed, liquid estrogen, normally used for livestock. And testosterone, identical to the ones Jason injected into his veins every week. It was easy. I replaced Jason's testosterone vials with estrogen and Rachel's growth hormones with testosterone. Then, I waited. 2 months later, the changes were undeniable. Rachel's body had begun to transform. Her muscles thickened, her frame became bulkier, and her temper, once sharp, now blazed like wildfire. One moment, she was a storm of fury. The next, she was sobbing, trembling from emotions she couldn't control. Jason, on the other hand, was falling apart. His hard-earned muscle mass was vanishing, his sculpted body softening into something unrecognizable. I watched as he checked his weight in the mirror, frustration twisting his face. Rachel began to suspect something was wrong. She confided in Jason, but he reassured her. Still, I could see it in his eyes, the doubt, the rising panic. And then, he made the worst mistake possible. He increased his dosage. Months passed, and Jason was no longer Jason. His strength was gone. His dominance at the gym, gone. His reputation, shattered. The once invincible man was now weak, fragile, and pitiful. Meanwhile, Rachel had spiraled out of control. Her mood swings were violent, her aggression unchecked. The gym, her sacred space, became a battleground. She fought with trainers, screamed at other members, until finally, her breaking point. Jason tried to leave her. Rachel snapped. In the middle of the gym, in front of everyone, she punched him. Hard. He crumpled, clutching his ribs, gasping through tears. The gym banned her on the spot. Jason. He was fired that same week. Step 1 was complete. Now, it was time for step 2. With their fitness lifestyle completely destroyed, I moved to the next phase of my plan. Jason's body wasn't recovering. He had been injecting estrogen for months, and now the effects were irreversible. His hair thinned, his face grew soft, puffy. He looked exhausted, like a man who had lost not just his strength, but his very identity. The final blow came at the doctor's office. His hormone levels were in chaos. The doctor suspected a thyroid issue. They removed it. Jason would now be on medication for the rest of his life. Rachel, on the other hand, was drowning. Without the gym, she had nothing. She lost all motivation. She gained back every pound she had worked so hard to shed, and more. Her hair began to fall out, her once perfect skin broke out in angry, inflamed patches across her back, chest, thighs, and face. And now, she was begging me to be intimate with her again. I refused. Until I know your condition isn't contagious, I'm not touching you. For the first time, she was the one being rejected. And then, came the final strike. One morning, she found an envelope waiting on the front seat of her car. Inside was a voice recorder, 2 photographs, and a note. The first photograph, Rachel in bed with Jason. The second, Rachel holding a vial of performance-enhancing drugs. The note read, "I know about your affair. I have video and audio evidence. Leave $10,000 in a gym bag in your car trunk. If you don't, I'll send this to your husband and the authorities." I watched from the window as she sat in her car, listening to the recording. Her own voice whispered in her ears, laughing, mocking me, calling me pathetic. At first, she was shocked. Then, rage twisted her face. She slammed the car door shut and sped off. I checked her GPS tracker. She was heading straight to Jason's apartment. I opened my laptop and watched the live camera feed from Jason's front door. Rachel was out of control. She banged on his door like a lunatic. When Jason finally opened it, she attacked. She clawed at his face, grabbed his hair, punched him in the stomach before he could even react. By the time he managed to calm her down, his lip was split and blood dripped onto his shirt. Then, she noticed something. His apartment was half empty. Boxes stacked near the door. His eyes were swollen, 2 black bruises marring his face. A cast covered his right leg. "What the hell happened to you?" she demanded. Jason sighed. "Your husband isn't the only one pissed at me." Her expression darkened. "What do you mean?" "There were 3 other husbands." He hesitated. "They dealt with me." Rachel's face turned crimson. "You were with 3 other women while you were with me." Jason stammered out an apology. Rachel's fist shattered his nose. Blood gushed down his face as he collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. Rachel stood over him, shaking, clutching a torn piece of his shirt. "I told you," she hissed. "You were worthless." Then, she stormed out. That night, Rachel was a wreck. She barely spoke, her hands trembling as she picked at her dinner. She had no idea I was watching her every move. The next morning, she found another letter. "Leave $10,000 in your trunk while you're at the gym today. If you don't, the evidence goes public." That evening, Rachel went to the gym. When she returned, the bag of money was gone. But in its place, a burner phone. It rang the next day. I answered, using a voice disguiser. "The $10,000 was just a test," I said. "Now I want more. Cash out your 401k and give it to me. If you do, I'll disappear forever." Rachel screamed into the phone. "I will never do that." I chuckled. "Okay. Thanks for the $10,000. Enjoy your divorce, your jail time, and your family finding out who you really are." She caved. It took her a month to withdraw the money. When she was ready, I gave my final instructions. Leave it in her husband's car trunk. She did. But I wasn't stupid. I knew she would try to follow me. That evening, I made sure she saw me walk into the gym. I handed a trainer a box of protein powder, asked him to put it in my trunk while I worked out. When I left, Rachel checked my trunk. The money was gone. She had been played. A few days later, I took Rachel to an upscale restaurant for our anniversary. She thought I was giving her another chance. She was wrong. During drinks, I slid an envelope across the table. She opened it. Inside, divorce papers. Her face turned pale. Her lips parted. And then, she whispered the only thing that mattered. "How did you get these?" I smirked. I found them on my front seat. After going to the gym. Her eyes widened. She understood. And then, she lost control.